Welcome in. I'm Ariel Onstadt. Thanks so much for streaming along here with me on your Monday afternoon. It is a pleasure to be back with you guys. We've got a lot of news to get to, and one of our biggest stories right now actually involves a water main break in DeKalb County. Our Angelique Proctor rushed out as soon as we learned about this, and I have to tell you guys, this water main break is disrupting schools and businesses in the area. So let's get live to Angelique. One thing I do want to let you guys know about as we transition here, Angelique, it's great to see you. I hope you can hear me. Question, where is, okay, wonderful. Where is the area that this water main break is happening in, and how is it affecting people right now?
Well, good afternoon to everyone. This is actually Midway Road here in DeKalb County, and it is off of Memorial Drive for those of you who might be familiar with this area, not far from Decatur. And as you said, it has affected a lot of schools. In fact, the entire Decatur school system has closed, as well as a few of the DeKalb County schools relocated. So I want to get out of your way and show you that this is the actual street in question. Midway is actually closed right now, and a lot of people have been affected. There are quite a few businesses in this area, as well as residential. So what are we talking about? Well, it's a 36-inch pipe that has burst, and it's right in the middle of Midway. You might be able to see some of the cranes. There are a couple of road closure signs, and because of this repair, and it's going to be a major repair that's going to take quite a bit of time, Decatur City Schools closed all of their schools, and that includes College Heights as well as the Fraser Center. And then we've also learned that 3 DeKalb County schools have relocated to other facilities. Those are Avondale Elementary School, DeKalb School of the Arts, and Wadsworth Magnet School. Now, communications advising parents of the relocation spots and the dismissal instructions were sent out earlier today, so be on the lookout for that. Now, the new information is that DeKalb officials, DeKalb water officials, are telling us that there are currently no reported water outages in this area, but we have talked to residents who live right here on Midway, and of course this is ground zero where I'm standing, who say their water is not running, and many of them have complained that their water bills are extremely high and have been for about 6 months. Take a listen.
Everything was going fine, and this morning we got a big swimming pool in the middle of the street. So I hope they take care of it soon. The bill is outrageous, so I'm sure it's probably no different, so I'm used to it. So I hope they resolve the problem soon.
And they are busy trying to resolve this problem. DeKalb Watershed Management still on site repairing this water main break and this giant sinkhole that he referred to as a swimming pool there that has been created in the roadway. In fact, one resident that lives out here told us that it looks to be so deep, she estimated about 20 feet deep. And because of all of the high water bills, this particular woman says that she owns a group home on this street, and because of all of the infrastructure problems, she's decided to relocate her group home. Listen in.
This is like the second or third time that they fixed in this area over here and blocked this street off. But I do group homes in DeKalb County, and this is one of my group homes, like 2 doors down from this area off Midway, about 4 houses down. And my water bill has been extremely high. It's been like $5,000.
Wow. Do you think maybe it's because that was leaking?
Yes, I think so. No water? No water. He said no water this morning. We pay like $200 a month on it, and it's still like up in the 5,000, going up to 6,000.
Did you call them to complain? What did they say?
I did.
What did they say?
They said that the homeowner have to do a report stating that she fixed the water leak, but she's saying that wasn't the cost of it.
And so we've got a lot of residents. All they wanted to talk about is the high water bills in this area. But of course, the problem at hand, what we're looking at, is the water main break in this area. Now, DeKalb Watershed has told us that residents in this area should probably experience brown water. They're encouraging residents to run their faucets inside and out to get those lines cleared as they continue this repair. And of course, motorists have been asked to stay away from this area. And if you must travel in this area, they have said there are definitely going to be delays. You see the police officer moving so that a very large truck can get in here with more equipment as they continue this repair. As I told you, this is going to take a long time. I'm still trying to get a timetable from officials as to how long they think. Ariel?
Yeah, Angelique, really busy out behind you. I can see they're hard at work trying to fix it. I love when you were speaking with the owner of the group home, you asked her if she had reported it, because I think that's the big thing. A lot of times people may complain or have issues, but raising your voices, calling city officials, letting them know the problems you're experiencing is a way to hopefully collectively get some answers and try to get this resolved.
Right, and she said that she had been in touch, but it had not been resolved. So that's very interesting. But no doubt, it's all come to a head now with the pipe no longer working and the huge sinkhole that's in the middle of the street. So it has probably been addressed one way or another now, but she says for her it's just been too much. She still has the $5,000 water bill, and she is relocating her tenants.
Wow. Angelique, final question before I let you go. Officials, did they give any kind of timetable that people should expect for this to all be fixed? I mean, the images of that burst pipe and just the pool of water are pretty incredible. Any idea how long this will be until it's fixed?
You know, at this point, I don't, but I'm still pressing them, trying to get that information. But as they're still bringing large equipment in, you've got to think it's going to be hours. But the interesting thing is, DeKalb Watershed is saying that the water is on in the area, and they're just asking people to run it because it may be brown. So they are acting as though this is not disrupting people, but the people that we are talking to have a different opinion.
Yeah, Angelique, thanks so much for bringing this story to our attention, and of course, speaking to the people you did gives us a really good understanding of how they're being affected. So Angelique, thanks so much. I'll let you gather some more information as we move on here. Okay, guys, another story I want to keep you updated on because it's really important. It involves an escaped inmate from Rockdale County, and he's still on the run as of right now. We know that he is considered armed and dangerous after he escaped Grady Memorial Hospital, according to police, and stolen SUV and handgun. Our Kim Leffler's been staying on top of this story. Kim, great to see you. What's the latest right now?
Yeah, well, this inmate has been missing for over 12 hours now. Rockdale County deputies brought him here to Grady last night after a suicide attempt. Now, take a good look at your screen. This is that inmate, Timothy Shane. Deputies say Shane escaped from Grady around 1:20 this morning while in deputy custody. They say he stole an SUV parked outside, crashed that SUV not long after, and then took off on foot. Deputies say a Glock handgun was also stolen from that car. Now, Shane is a white male with a buzzed haircut, and he was wearing a blue hospital gown with no shoes on when he escaped. They say he has a history of fleeing along with drug and weapon charges. Now, Grady administration sent us a statement saying, quote, the existing policy for inmates under treatment at the hospital is that the custodial law enforcement agency must have one-to-one oversight of them at all times. They then referred us to the Rockdale County Sheriff's Office. Now, we reached out to the Rockdale County Sheriff's Office, and they told us that their agencies, along with other agencies, are still searching for that inmate at this time. We asked if they would speak on what happened here, and they referred us to the information that they had put out a little bit earlier this morning, which I just shared with you. Of course, we're going to keep reaching out to them for updates, and they did say they would give us some updates as soon as those were available. But again, at this point, that inmate is still missing at this hour. Ariel?
Yeah, Kim, you know, it's really interesting because I think a lot of people are curious, how does an inmate escape the hospital? And you kind of giving an information on the chain of command, the fact that it's the law enforcement agency monitoring that inmate who has custodial supervision, if you will. It's their responsibility. Interesting to hear if Rockdale County will eventually address this, how he was able to escape their custody. But seeing those images too, you know, I saw a white SUV that looked like it had crashed. We had seen images of that just a bit ago. Am I correct in understanding that's the SUV that they believe this inmate stole?
That is our understanding. That is the SUV. Deputies say it was parked outside of the hospital, and then he crashed not too long after and then took off on foot, again, just wearing that hospital gown and no shoes.
Do we know if the SUV belonged to like a person who was inside the hospital? Any idea on who owned that SUV?
Deputies have not released that information at this point. This is a very busy area right down here outside of Grady. So a lot of different people, parked down here. Obviously people going into the hospital, but also others just in this area as well. So that's still information that we need to get.
Wonderful. Kim, thank you for that important context. I really appreciate it. And I'm scanning our YouTube comments real quick just to make sure people haven't asked you any questions that they want to know more about. Looks like we're good, but obviously if we do have questions, you guys, for those who are streaming along, I'll make sure to ask Kim for you. Kim, thanks so much. I'll let you get back to information gathering while we move on here. Okay, guys, so if you see that inmate, as we showed you on your screen, you're urged to call Rockdale County Sheriff's Office or 911 and report it immediately. Another story I want to get to you guys as we move nationally here. We're learning new details about the National Guard shooting suspect. In case you missed out on this or didn't hear this story about last week, it's when it happened. This happened as you may have been going into your Thanksgiving holiday. Just to catch you up, the attack killed a 20-year-old woman and wounded a 24-year-old man Wednesday, both members of the National Guard. And they were in Washington, D.C., just blocks from the White House when this happened. Now we're getting a closer look at the life of the suspect. You see a photo of him there on your screen. Investigators have been looking into his background. He's 29 years old. He's an Afghan national who once worked with the CIA. U.S. officials believe he may have been radicalized since he came to the U.S. in 2021. Now, one of the things we're looking at, a new report from the Associated Press, actually says the alleged gunman, Rahmanullah Lakhanwal, the photo you just saw on your screen, had been, quote, unraveling for years, unable to hold a job and flipping between long, lightless stretches of isolation and taking sudden weeks-long cross-country drives. The AP reports Lakhanwal had been struggling to adjust to his new life in Washington state after entering the United States through Operation Allies Welcome. In case you may not remember, Operation Allies Welcome was a way for the United States to welcome Afghan allies and those who had worked with U.S. forces during the war in Afghanistan. One thing to keep in mind here is that Lakhanwal's now facing first-degree murder for this attack. The 20-year-old National Guard's woman was Sarah Beckstrom. The 24-year-old National Guard soldier was Andrew Wolf. So he is in critical condition as of right now, and the woman has died. Lakhanwal had been vetted by the intelligence community for his work with the CIA before coming to the United States, but he was granted asylum this year, and that would have warranted another screening process. The Trump administration has said the standards were not up to par and have been blaming the Biden administration. A report from the Justice Department in June showed the FBI and other U.S. agencies had done a good job flagging threats during the Afghanistan withdrawal. But this DHS report in 2022 stated there were data inaccuracies for some of these evacuees, and that CPB, Customs and Border Patrol, admitted or paroled evacuees who were not fully vetted to enter the United States. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt spoke about this during the White House press briefing just wrapped up seconds ago. Let's go ahead and listen in.
I'll begin this week with some scheduling announcements for President Trump's very busy week ahead. Tomorrow, President Trump will host his 9th cabinet meeting of the year alongside his incredible cabinet, who continue to deliver for the American people at a record pace. Later in the afternoon tomorrow.
That's Caroline Leavitt talking about the president's schedule. I'm going to move you ahead just a little bit further in the timeline where we can listen in as she spoke a little bit about the National Guard soldiers, the two who were shot in Washington, D.C.
Tragedy that took place in our nation's capital that last week. A foreign terrorist that the Biden administration failed to properly vet ambushed 2 members of the West Virginia National Guard who were honorably serving here to keep the residents and visitors of Washington, D.C. safe. U.S. Air Force Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf was severely wounded in the attack and remains hospitalized while he continues to fight for his life. Tragically, U.S. Army Specialist Sarah Beckstrom died of her wounds. She was just 20 years old. President Trump and the entire White House are praying for Andrew's full recovery at the request of his parents and their personal phone call with the president over the weekend. And we are keeping Sarah's family and friends in our prayers during this unimaginably difficult time. Sarah and Andrew represent the very best of America. Two young patriots who were willing to put on the uniform and risk their lives in defense of their fellow Americans. Both of them truly embody the profound words spoken by Jesus Christ in the gospel. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. Sarah and Andrew are heroes, and we will never forget their sacrifice. That means ensuring the monster responsible for this atrocity is prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law and faces the most severe punishment possible. It also means reckoning with why this atrocity was allowed to happen in the first place, so that it may never occur again. Here are the facts. The terrorist who gunned down American soldiers blocks away from the White House in an ambush was an Afghan national who was flown into our country by Joe Biden's administration in September 2021 in the chaotic wake of their botched withdrawal from Afghanistan, one of the most embarrassing moments in the history of our great country. Joe Biden's historic failure in Afghanistan continues to haunt this country and our men and women in uniform. Not only did this surrender lead to a suicide bombing that killed 13 American heroes in Kabul, but now National Guard troops were shot on U.S. soil by the same kind of enemy. We continue to live with the deadly consequences of Joe Biden's horrific leadership. Nearly 100,000 Afghans were recklessly released into the United States with little to no vetting. There was no regard for the disorder and violence that this would unleash on American communities and American culture. Reportedly, thousands of these strangers and
That's White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt briefing on the attacks on the two National Guards members. We're going to continue to keep you updated on this story. Meanwhile, President Trump said Sunday that he has invited the families of these two National Guards members to the White House. And one of the things that the president spoke on Air Force One about was their service. Both Beckstrom and Wolf were deployed with the West Virginia National Guard to Washington, D.C. as the president has worked to deploy the National Guard to D.C. to help keep the city safe. Let's listen in on what the president had to say aboard Air Force One.
I have spoken to both families. Well, I mean, I can give you an update. They're devastated. Does that make sense to you?
Of course.
They're devastated.
Can you give us an update on Andrew? How he's doing?
Well, as you know, the one is no longer with us, and Andrew is fighting for his life. And his parents are unbelievably great people, highly religious people, and they're praying, and they want everybody to pray for Andrew, and he has a chance to make it, but he is, I mean, his mother and father, they were so unbelievable. They were so positive. From West Virginia, great state. I spoke with Sarah's parents, too, and the only thing I can say, they were devastated. I've already suggested it. I said, when you're ready, because that's a tough thing, come to the White House. We're going to honor Sarah. And likewise with Andrew, recover or not, we're going to honor him.
I just have one more.
Well, that was President Trump speaking aboard Air Force One. Now, keep in mind, according to the owner of a funeral home in Webster Springs, where Beckstrom is from, the owner of Dot and Reed Funeral Home says no funeral arrangements have been made for her at this time, but we'll continue to keep you updated as we learn any new information. And right now, of course, on the right, we know that that National Guardsman is fighting for his life, so we'll keep you updated as the situation unfolds. Meanwhile, in other national and international news, I want to let you know about where we stand with the ongoing negotiation between Russia and Ukraine as U.S. leaders continue to try to work out a ceasefire deal. Right now, U.S. negotiators are on their way to Moscow to meet with, or actually right now on their way, not to Moscow, but to meet with Putin about potential ceasefire. And one of the things that President Trump has said is that there's a good chance to make a deal. And while there may have been some progress over the weekend, there may be a complicated path forward. I mean, this is no surprise, but this weekend offered no break in the fighting for Ukraine. Peace talks were underway in Florida. Senior Trump administration officials met with Ukrainian negotiators Sunday in Miami. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio sat down with Ukrainian leaders to try to nudge the peace process forward. Details from the emerging plan aren't clear yet, but Ukraine would clearly have to cede some of its territory back to Russia. No apparent breakthroughs happened, but Rubio did say that there was progress. The next step, Steve Witkoff, one of the president's chief negotiators, is now going to meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin. And actually, it will be in Moscow. I'm taking a look at this. They will be meeting in Moscow, and of course, that is where Witkoff is headed now. President Trump, on his way back to Washington yesterday, said, like, the weekend talks did make headway. He says that he has spoken to the negotiators and they're doing well. Ukraine's got some difficult problems, but President Trump did say that he thinks Russia would like to see the war end. But that's the critical question here, right? Because Putin has given new indications that, despite a willingness to talk, he's not scaling back his ambitions since invading Ukraine 4 years ago. So Putin seems to be determined to keep fighting despite heavy losses to Russian troops, apparently confident that over time he's inching his way to victory. So we'll keep you updated as this unfolds. In the meantime, also in national news, or rather international news, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is making a major political gambit, and it could have a big impact on America's push for peace in the Middle East. Benjamin Netanyahu is asking Israeli President Isaac Herzog for a pardon. He was greeted by protesters as he arrived to testify at his corruption trial 1 day after making that request. But it's an unprecedented request. Netanyahu says that he needs the pardon to unify the country and end the political distraction of his long-running corruption probe. That started almost a decade ago. He also noted President Trump recently made the same request to Herzog and called the case, quote, political. The request has already triggered a significant public backlash, and it also faces legal challenges, with most experts pointing out that under Israeli law, a pardon can't stop a trial without an admission of guilt. So that is key here. The request comes as a new series of Israeli strikes is rattling the fragile peace process in the West Bank. A major anti-terror operation is underway, and further north in Lebanon, Israel is setting up attacks on Hezbollah targets. In Syria, an Israeli raid on Friday reportedly left at least 13 people dead, and Hezbollah's leader says it's preparing a military response to the recent Israeli airstrikes on its top military leader. So we'll keep you updated as that progresses. Meanwhile, a little closer to home here in national news, lawmakers are now calling for a review as you take a live look at the Capitol building there in Washington, D.C. They are calling for a review of the Trump administration's drug cartel strikes. Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle say Congress should review these military strikes on alleged drug trafficking boats after a report that accuses the Pentagon chief of violating the laws of war. Since September, the U.S. military has killed at least 83 suspected drug traffickers in 21 known strikes on these alleged drug boats in international waters. President Donald Trump's administration has targeted several boats coming out of Venezuela for months, and it says the boats are carrying illegal drugs headed for the United States. But a September 2nd mission is facing new scrutiny, and this comes after a Washington Post report claims a second strike was ordered after it became clear there were survivors in the water. Military officers say they were following a directive from War Secretary Pete Hegseth to, quote, kill everybody. Now, Hegseth calls the report fake news, and President Donald Trump is standing by him. But lawmakers want answers. They say they want public hearings and to put people under oath and to understand how this is working. The U.S. military action has raised tensions with Venezuela, and President Trump announced Saturday the country's airspace should be considered closed. He's downplaying any questions of an imminent air attack. The president said don't read anything into it to reporters. But President Trump also confirms he spoke with Venezuela's leader, Nicolas Maduro, over the phone. He hasn't shared any details or confirmed reporting that he gave Maduro an ultimatum to leave the country immediately, but we'll keep you updated if we learn any new details there, because that obviously significantly affects what is going on near the Caribbean and Latin America. You guys, coming up, I want to get a check of your weather forecast. We've got a lot of other news to get to. So coming up, a check of your weather forecast. We're also going to check in with our Doug Evans about a story of an abandoned dog. This one will have you scratching your head. That's coming up. Welcome back. I'm Ariel Onstadt, and it's great to see you. If you've stepped outside, you know it's chilly. Is there a warm-up on the way? What does Georgia have in store for us? Meteorologist Alex Forbes has the answers.
Well, we have needed rain across north and central Georgia, and we are going to have the opportunity to pick it up this evening and lasting into the overnight. Let's time it out now, hour by hour. You see that cloud cover from this afternoon still in place this evening, and then by 7, 8 o'clock, that's going to give way to widely scattered showers at first, and then widespread rain as we work our way through the overnight hours. Notice some locations getting in on some of the yellows and oranges there. That's going to be your higher rainfall totals. I wouldn't lock in necessarily on the exact location of where the heaviest rain is going to be. Slides 20, 30 miles north and west, and that implicates the city and Cherokee County and Cobb County. Slides 20 miles to the south and east, then maybe that cuts out Newton County over towards Spalding County. I would just expect a wet evening here across the metro area. And then as we work our way into tomorrow morning, mainly eastern Georgia going to be looking at a wet morning commute, but 9, 10 o'clock, things are really going to begin to clear out. Still hanging on to the cloud cover here through the noon hour, and then we get those breaks in the clouds late in the day, and that is going to set the stage for a chilly overnight time period into Wednesday morning. These are your actual air temperatures, many locations in the 20s, even mid-20s in a couple of spots, so a cold but clear morning out there at the bus stop. Again, this is the simulated rainfall total here. Don't lock in on these exact numbers. Just know that we are going to have a swath of an inch plus of rain somewhere over likely the metro area, and then across the mountains we could see some higher rainfall totals as well thanks to the elevation up there. So as I alluded to, we needed the rain, and we are going to have the opportunity to pick up some much needed rain, not only through the overnight hours, but it does look like now through the month of December, looking for above average rainfall, not only for us here in the metro area, but particularly the South Metro and extending down towards New Orleans. Now, if you remember, the driest spots in Georgia right now are the South Metro, places like Cherokee County, Fayette County, Coweta County, and over towards Spalding County. So we are really looking for some help there, and we're going to have the opportunity to see that. So into the evening tonight, here we go. Temperatures from the 50s this afternoon sliding down into the 40s across metro Atlanta and North Georgia. Looking for a high temperature today right around 52. And if you're thinking of putting up the lights, I think you might have an hour or two more today and have it be okay. If I had a little light in the middle there, it would be a red light overnight Monday into Tuesday, but clearing out tomorrow afternoon will give you another decent opportunity. A completely dry day will come our way on Wednesday, although it will be cool. So 52 today, 50 for tomorrow, 52 on Wednesday after starting the morning off at 29 in the metro. Another chance of rain in here that's going to be all day Friday at 80%, some of that lasting into Saturday morning. I do think we'll see the sun late in the day on Saturday and hang on to a 20% chance of rain by the time we get to Sunday. These numbers here, all well below the norm for the first week of December. Highs, they should be about 59 for this time of year. Instead, we're going to be about 5 to 10 degrees below that each afternoon. So welcome to December. I'm doing it on a cool note here in North Georgia.
Well, thanks, Alex. Okay, guys, I have to let you know about a landmark study that we have actually just gotten information about into our newsroom. So this is really incredible because this landmark study shows that scientists have found a way to reverse type 1 diabetes in mice. This lays the groundwork for similar research on humans. Type 1 diabetes requires lifelong management, including insulin injections, blood sugar monitoring, and a healthy diet. Researchers at Stanford School of Medicine found resetting the immune system in the mice and creating new insulin-making cells actually reversed the disease in all 19 mice that were used in the study. Now, additionally, the study did not cause any major side effects or compromised immunity in the rodents, which is really key. And although the research was only conducted on rodents and required some radiation, scientists say this could be limiting in future studies, that radiation. And health experts believe people may eventually be able to undergo the treatment, which is really incredible. So we'll keep you updated as we learn new things on that. But in the meantime, I want to switch gears here because this is a really incredible story I teased to you right as we were coming in. A couple is facing animal cruelty charges. Authorities in Fayette County actually say they've been charged with abandoning their dog right before going on vacation to Maui, if you can believe it. That trip led to their arrest for animal cruelty. And Fox 5's Doug Evans has more on this story. So let's get out live to Doug. Doug, you're standing by. When you pitched this in our morning meeting, Doug, and we were talking about this story, I think no one could believe the idea or fathom dropping your dog off and abandoning it and then taking a trip to Hawaii. It just doesn't compute.
Yeah, and it's a sweet little doggy, Ariel. His name is Blue. Let's show you some video. Authorities found Blue tied up to the front door of the Fayette County Water and Sewer Department. And you got to realize that building is right next door to Animal Control in Fayette County. This happened on a Sunday afternoon. The doggy wasn't found until Monday morning. And so they looked at the security cameras and they see a couple had dropped the dog off, had given it food and water, so that raised some concerns. And then they found a note with the dog as well. The note read that something along the lines of, my owner and I spent the last 4.5 years together every day, but he died and now there's no one to take care of me. My name is Blue. Thanks. Well, they began their investigation. The first thing that they did was look at the microchip in the dog. Yes, the dog had a microchip, and it came back to an owner in Morrow in Clayton County. And that owner's name was Kenneth Beschers. So then they run a check on Kenneth Beschers and his wife, Joanna Payne, and they try to find out where they are, try to locate them. And they did. They located them in Maui. And so apparently, according to authorities here in Fayette County, the couple was on vacation at the time. Abandoning your dog is a crime, as you'll hear right now from the director of Fayette County Animal Control, Tracy Thompson.
How long had the dog been there?
It was in the middle of the day on a Sunday, so most of the day on Sunday and then all night until we got here on Monday morning. And we were open that Sunday, but they didn't come down here.
Probably, what, less than 100 yards away?
Yep.
With signage?
And he was quiet, so we didn't know he was there until he was discovered by them.
Yeah. So, naturally, you checked the microchip?
We did. We scanned the dog for a microchip, found out who it went back to, tried to call them. Just in, you never know, sometimes animals are stolen. There was a note left with the dog, so that was odd too, that said the owner had passed away. But we found an owner attached to the microchip, left a message, never could get them. We were able to do some investigating, find out where they lived, which was in Morrow. So the marshals, Fayette County marshals, took over the case so they could make contact with them.
And they did?
They did. It took a minute because they had discovered that they were on vacation in Maui. So they had to wait till they came back.
Are you able to connect the dots and say that them going to Maui might have something to do with the dog being left?
I would think maybe it did. Which, there are boarding facilities. You don't have to dump your dog to go on vacation. And abandoning an animal is a crime. And as they found out, you go to jail for that.
Did they say anything about why they did it? Or?
I never personally spoke to them at all. The marshals probably have.
Okay.
They did turn them.
Yeah, they did turn themselves in. Poor little Blue, he's a sweet doggy. I spent some time with him this morning. Over there at Animal Control, they tell me that he's been great. No discipline problems, no problems from him at all. No reason they could see why somebody would abandon him. No behavior issues that might perturb someone enough to abandon their dog, right or wrong. And so, the only thing they can get back to is that there was this Maui vacation. Right? So they're charged with not only abandoning Blue, they're also charged with cruelty to animals. Both of those charges are misdemeanors, Ariel.
Doug, it's really just remarkable because I think a lot of people could maybe get their head around the idea, those of us who have pets, we can't fathom leaving our dog. But, okay, maybe if you had financial trouble, maybe if there were behavioral issues, something horrible's going on and you're overcome with guilt, right? And you're like, hey, I need this dog to have a better life. But why would you then, as they're accused of doing, tie it up to the sewage department instead of taking it to animal control? Just just a short distance. It's like, did they know that that was right there? And obviously one can only speculate, but at the end of the day, it was very cold. I can only imagine, you know, what that poor sweet dog was going through being tied up overnight. And the fact that it was quiet and didn't make any sounds, that's remarkable.
Well, we all know how our doggies react when we leave for like 10 minutes and come back in, and they think it's been 10 hours, right? Imagine poor Blue tied up to the door of the sewer department for overnight, for hours and hours. Listen, when you talk about, you know, was there some confusion there? Maybe they went to the wrong building. There are tons of signs labeling the Fayette Animal Shelter this way to the Fayette Animal Shelter, this way, this way, this way, arrows pointing. And then there are little dog paws on the street, right? All the way down the street leading to the shelter. Tracy Thompson told me that what she suspects, and this is just a suspicion on her part, right, is that it's a Sunday, the shelter is open, maybe they didn't understand that the shelter would be open, and maybe their intention was to leave the dog, but couldn't leave the dog because they don't take owner surrenders at the shelter. They're also out of county. They don't live here, right? And so then they go to the next building over and they tie Blue up to the door there. That's just her suspicion.
That's a good point.
Right?
You know,
maybe
Doug,
it happened that way.
Something else, that note too, it just absolutely something else. I'm glad
Oh, it's heartbreaking.
Just, and
right?
and we see it on screen
and
while we're
it's a
chatting.
lie.
Yeah, exactly. At the end of the day.
It's heartbreaking and a lie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that the dog was able to find the shelter. Yep.
Yeah. In the end, guess what did him in? Blue himself.
Yeah. The chimp.
Turned it.
Yeah.
He held the key to solving the case all along, and they didn't realize it.
Well, Doug, thank you so much for bringing this story to our attention. I could chat with you about this for a long time because I think that there's just a lot of different ways that this could go, but we have some other things we have to get to, so we're going to move on. But I appreciate you, Doug, as always, and our conversation, so thanks so much. Okay, guys, we're going to move on here because coming up, we're going to be chatting with two women about caregiving. You know, a lot of us may be facing new life transitions and be faced with the task of caring for an elderly family member or maybe someone who is in need of care. And we're going to talk a little bit about how we can support caregivers in our lives and some of the unique challenges that you may be faced with if you're navigating this new chapter of life that's coming up. Well, welcome back. I'm Ariel Onstad, and thanks so much for streaming along with us. You guys, maybe you have traveled for the first time with a loved one as their caregiver over the Thanksgiving holiday, and you're looking ahead to the Christmas holidays, and this is a difficult journey being a new caregiver for someone. So I'd like to bring in Sue Ryan and Nancy Treaster, co-founders of the Caregiver's Journey. Ladies, it is great to have you with me. I know you have a podcast, and you have a lot of experience with this. So I'd like to start off first and just ask, what puts you on the journey to wanting to help caregivers and wanting to explore this topic?
Well, I was a software executive and working full-time when my husband got diagnosed with frontotemporal dementia. And about 4 years later, that was about 10 years ago, 4 years later, my father-in-law got diagnosed with Alzheimer's and was eventually the caregiving between the two of those just got to be so much that that I ended up retiring. But I have to tell you, it was so hard to find the information I needed to manage day-to-day dementia family caregiving challenges. I struggled, and I ended up reaching out to my friend and longtime friend and colleague, Sue Ryan, and she had already, I had known, gone through dementia caregiving several times, and she helped me. And I thought, not everybody's got a Sue. We need to do something because not everybody's got a friend who's been through this multiple times that they can call and ask questions of.
It's so true. And, you know, you guys, I'm curious. So you're both co-founders of the Johns Creek-based nonprofit. I want to make sure the Caregiver's Journey. Tell me a little bit about your nonprofit and how you help those who are starting this journey themselves.
Nancy and I came together to start the Caregiver's Journey because we, as Nancy mentioned, we've each been in multiple dementia family caregiving roles. And what we learned is that a lot of caregivers don't understand what the journey is. And there was a gap that needed to be filled for providing practical tips and having direct, candid conversations for dementia family caregivers so they could learn faster and more easily than we did and get actionable tips and about the good, the bad, and the ugly of the journey. So no topic is off limits. We talk about incontinence, we talk about driving privileges, we talk about home safety, and we keep the episodes at about 25 minutes because caregivers are busy. We've got the podcast, and then we create a blog post for every single one of them. So caregivers walk away with things they can do.
And I think that's so important because, you know, if you are new to this journey and you feel like you're drowning and maybe you just traveled with a parent for the first time over the Thanksgiving holiday and you're like, oh my goodness, I don't know if I can do this. What is your advice to people who are suddenly embarking on this and just feel underwater? What would you say to them?
One of the things that Sue and I've done, particularly for dementia family caregiving, is we created a roadmap guide specifically focused on the 20 steps of the dementia caregiving journey so that you could figure out which part of the journey you're in and know exactly what to focus on now. So we tried to create something that was underwhelming. As Sue said, this can be very overwhelming, but we tried to create an underwhelming guide to help you know, look, don't focus on all those other things right now. Just focus on this at this point in your journey. And across the board, that seems to be the one thing that's hitting home as much as anything is just let me get down to just what I need to know now.
So, for example, one of the areas specific to travel is Nancy and I both had that trip. Actually, we called it the first trip after what should have been the last trip. and so some of the tips that we provide, for example, if you're going to think about, especially over the holiday season, traveling with your loved one, kind of do a pre-test. We can take our loved one to the grocery store, and that's not so bad. However, if you're going to be in the car for several hours, practice that. Drive around town. Go to different places. Go to places that are noisy. Get them out of their comfort zone. Get them out of their routine. And then teach, if you're going to be at someone's home over the holiday, teach them about how to communicate. Have a separate space to keep things calmer for the dementia family caregiver, and have specific things, that topics that could be easier for them to talk about, and keep things, as Nancy said, keep things underwhelming for them.
You know, I think this is so useful just to think about, okay, what can I apply right now? And doing a pre-test and thinking about how to travel is just a really good way to set people up for success. So as we wrap up here, ladies, tell me a little bit about the podcast. If someone's listening along right now and they think, wow, this is really useful, I need more, how can they listen to you? When do new episodes come out? Give me the skinny.
We are on every major podcast platform. Easiest way to get to us is go to thecaregiversjourney.org. There's a page for podcast, or you can go to any platform that you're on. We have an award-winning advice and how-to podcast. It's very focused on tips and things to help you get through day-to-day challenges. They're, as Sue said, only 25 minutes to try to make it as easy as possible to absorb the information and to be able to use it. It's all actionable.
And the website has both each of the names of our podcast episodes, and there's also an associated blog if you want to read.
Wonderful. Ladies, thank you so much. This has been so insightful. I really appreciate your time today and sharing a little bit about how we can navigate being a caregiver, because I know it is not for the faint of heart. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, and happy holidays.
Happy holidays, guys. All right, guys, when we come back, I want to get you a check of a really heartwarming story from our Chris Rosenthal about a family that's donating thousands of stuffed sloths to Children's Healthcare of Atlanta when we come back. But welcome back. I'm Ariel Onstott. You know, these parents, Micheline and Ken Lanyon, are honoring their daughter Morgan by donating thousands of stuffed sloths in her honor to Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. Our Chris Rosenthal was there. Let's check it out.
Well, in the spirit of the holiday and Giving Tuesday, patients here at Children's Healthcare today are getting these. This is a slothy. The slothy is more than just a cute stuffed animal. It's actually a favorite stuffed animal of a patient here, Morgan, who passed away recently. And her parents teamed up with Wild Republic Toy Company to donate these toys today to patients. And I talked with them today about Morgan's story.
When she was born, the doctors immediately knew something was a little off because her head size was kind of small. And then at 3 months, we came from Blue Ridge here to Scottish Rite and saw the neurologist here, and they officially diagnosed her with having microcephaly, which is where your brain is fully developed, but it's kind of small in size. Then at 5 months old, she started having seizures and started getting treated here as well. As she aged, about 10 years ago or so, she started having more frequent seizures and was having several a day that weren't being able to be controlled with medications. And that kind of progressed to her having to have a feeding tube put in to be fed by that, and which then led to kind of a decline in her overall physical activity. In June, she had so many seizures that she ended up succumbing to everything that kind of happened. And the doctor said that we had to look at hospice. And so when we did that, we decided to reach out to Wild Republic to see if they could make a smaller version.
Yeah. And talk to me about these guys. Talk to me about her love of sloths. How did that come to be?
You do that.
Well, she always had a very tactile sense to her. She always wanted to be holding something. And so as she was holding things, she would whip them around. And I think for her, when we started, when we finally found these slothies, we decided that we would see that she would hang on to these. And because of the long arms and the legs and everything, and the pink was perfect for her. Everyone who would see Morgan, they would know her, that she's always got her sloth with her. So that represented her after a long time. So,
talk to me about reaching out to, to Wild Republic and getting a sloth made for her.
So in her final week, we decided that, well, if she was going to pass, she would miss out on some things that we would do as a family. And we decided we wanted a small version of the sloth that we could put her ashes in and just take with us. So we reached out to Wild Republic, and a customer service rep named Arvind answered us, and he loved the story. He just was behind it completely. And he said, I was so emotional about it. He said, I'm going to have to send this up the ladder right now to our leadership team. So that's what he did. And they wrote us back and they said, we would love to be behind this. So this is exactly what we were looking for, is a small version. And we were going to open it up and sew her ashes in, but they actually designed it. Their design team put a zipper on it, and there's a little pouch in there that you can get into and put her ashes in. And then on top of that, it has her name on the side right there.
Wow. And so you can carry her with you.
You can take her on some adventures, yeah.
They were amazing. It was amazing how quickly they responded to it and how fast. This sloth came to us in the mail within 2 months. So it was amazing.
Today, we are donating them to the children at the hospital. We're donating over 1,000, and every year, in Morgan's memory, in honor, we will be donating to the children at the Hospital of Atlanta.
It's where her story started at 3 months old, and I thought that it would be fitting for us to bring that back here. You know, the nurses and everybody at Children's, because we've been to multiple of their hospitals, but also in particular here at Scottish Rite, have always treated her so amazingly. And I feel so grateful to that. So to think of her name carrying on and having this legacy continue annually, I wouldn't want it to be anywhere else but with children.
Again, about 1,000 of these will go to patients here at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. These slothies, and no doubt putting a smile on their faces this holiday season. Back.
Oh, awesome. I always love when Chris Rosenthal can bring us a heartwarming story, and it's wonderful to see those sloths going to brighten others' days. So you guys, we're going to switch gears here for a second because we're getting ready for the news to continue at 3 o'clock. In the meantime, I want to very quickly let you know a little bit about the face-off that's going to happen between Georgia and Alabama for the SEC title. That championship is happening, championship game is happening in Atlanta as you take a live look at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. That is going to happen then Saturday, December 6th at 4 o'clock inside Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And the winner of the SEC championship game is going to receive an automatic bid to the college football playoff. Even with a loss, Georgia's 11-1 record and tough conference schedule should still position the Bulldogs for a playoff spot. You may remember Alabama previously beat Georgia 24-21 during the regular season. So we'll keep you updated as we get closer to this, and we'll let you know more about what to expect once the game is underway. In the meantime, you guys, it's been a pleasure streaming with you. The news is going to continue at 3 o'clock.
Hey everybody, welcome to the 3 p.m. streaming hour here on Fox Local. I'm Tom Haines with you live in the Fox 5 Atlanta newsroom. Got a lot to get you caught up to on this Monday post-holiday, beginning the work week anew here. We are on top of breaking news at 3 p.m. As the manhunt for an escaped convict intensifies this afternoon. Timothy Shane escaped from Grady Memorial Hospital, where he was being treated following a suicide attempt while he was in prison. He was a Rockdale County inmate who has been described now as armed and dangerous. And take a look at the picture wearing his hospital gown there, fleeing that scene. He was transported to the hospital at about 8 o'clock on Sunday night, and officials say he fled at approximately 1:20 a.m. in what they describe as that SUV there, where he crashed it. There was a gun inside, a Glock, we're told, which he stole out of that vehicle. He is, again, on the loose at this hour. Authorities say not to approach Shane, that if you see him, you're asked to call 911 immediately. Also off the top here at 3 o'clock, you know, we've told you about that fight, that skirmish between Gainesville High School and Brunswick. That's being litigated and worked through the process right now after over 24 players from Gainesville were suspended after Brunswick initiated a skirmish on the field. The Georgia High School Association suspending players on both teams. And now we understand this afternoon that this could have ripple effects into other organizations. Let's get out to Fox 5's Kevin Stewart, who is following this story for us this afternoon. Kevin, a lot happening here, a lot of meetings taking place. Where do we stand now on the issue?
Okay, here's where we are right now. We're at the Fulton County School Board as we're awaiting word of what's coming out of a meeting that's going on right now as we speak. The Georgia High School Association is meeting with the school programs that are still in the playoffs, in the 5A playoffs, that are impacted by what happened last week. So we are talking about, as you know, Hughes High School and Gainesville High School were supposed to play on Friday after a court hearing back on Wednesday, when a judge cleared the way for the game to take place, but the Georgia High School Association said, no, hold up, we're going to postpone that game. So you have this ripple effect right now. Rome High School is supposed to play the winner of the game that's supposed to take place on Friday between Hughes and Gainesville. So they're in limbo. And of course, you also have several other programs, including Roswell, who's on the other side of the bracket, who will be in the semifinals coming up, we believe, on Friday. So what they're trying to do right now is the Georgia High School Association is meeting with all those programs, giving them a chance to ask any questions that they have about planning and what's the next steps. Because right now, we don't know what the next steps are. That meeting is a closed meeting, so we're told that that'll probably last about an hour. It got underway around 2:30. We're expecting to hear sometime around 3:30 from Fulton County schools about what has come out of this meeting. I've had a chance to talk to several school representatives from several school entities, and you're either told, hey, we don't know what's going on, or no comment. So hopefully by 3:30 we'll have a better idea of what's going on inside that meeting, because one thing that we want to know, is there going to be a resolution today, and that's unclear.
Yeah, and it's incredible, Kevin, the ripple effect that this has had. This originally started between two high school football teams, and now it seems to have grown into so much more here, perhaps setting new precedent, if you will, as to how players are treated on the field, how they're disciplined, what the role in the referees during these games is, and what it could become.
Yeah, and that's, if you remember from back on Wednesday, the ruling, basically, there were multiple arguments. One of the main arguments that Gainesville City Schools put forth was safety. And basically what the judge ruled was that the GHSA had a breach of contract, because they said that the referee should have done more. Mm-hmm. And that was the reason why the game was allowed to go ahead until, of course, the Georgia High School Association said, no, let's put a pause on this game while we try to work all this out. A lot of debate. When you look at that video, a lot of people are concerned, and that's how the High School Association looked at this. It's like, we can't have people running out onto the field. No. We can't have chaos. But the other side of that is kind of like the human nature is like, well, how far do you go with the discipline? Because many of those kids were coming out to defend their teammates, and that Brunswick High School was the aggressor, first pulling off the helmets and punching. So it'll be really interesting to see what happened here, because really, even when you look at on a broader scale, and I imagine that's what a lot of this conversation is going on today, is about logistics. When do you play the game? If the game was supposed to take place on Friday and it hasn't been canceled, when do you play the next game? Because you can't hold up the entire playoffs. The next round, the semifinals, is supposed to be on Friday, and then the finals for the state high school championships for each of the divisions is from the 15th through the 15th to the 17th, I should say. And the 5A final is set for, I believe it's on the 16th. It's an 8 o'clock game, the second part of a doubleheader. So, what do? You got to have all this stuff sync up. Do you end up shifting the final game to say the next day or a couple days after that? I'm sure there is a complicated process, because you're renting out the bins, so that obviously costs money. So that's going to be a real challenge. And since we're talking about high school kids as opposed to pros or even college, where you do have these short turnarounds instead of a week to week, sometimes say like they can say now with Monday Night Football or Thursday Night Football, you don't have a whole week in between games. These are grown adult bodies. With high school kids, you probably want to be a little more a little safer with their bodies, so you might not want to have them have a short turnaround. So if a game is set for, say, tomorrow or Wednesday, can you realistically have that program play on Friday in a semifinal game? Probably not.
Yeah, this is, it's really turning into a ricochet effect, affecting so many aspects of the game here, so many students, so many families, and as you said, this particular issue acts as the domino that's going to go over, that's going to impact so many other games that are ahead. And as you said, Kevin, you know, a lot of parents are paying attention to this, not just parents who have their kids playing football, but all kinds of high school athletics. I mean, what is the precedent going to be moving forward, and how are we going to regulate these games so that something like this doesn't happen again? Kevin Stewart reporting live for us, waiting for that meeting to happen. Kevin, thanks so much. Well, access to health care is about to get a whole lot easier in one part of town. We're talking about the Grady Healthcare System officially opening a new Flat Shoals outpatient center. Let's get out to Fox 5's Deidre Dukes, who is live for us with, this is a celebration, really, Deidre. It's about making access to health care easy and affordable and effective for people who live in that area. And I understand that it's just step one on the part of Grady Healthcare System.
That's right. You got that right, Tom. I tell you, it was just such a festive, celebratory mood out here. You know, we all say we love those feel-good stories, and this certainly was one here today. We've been seeing staff going in and out all day following today's ribbon cutting here at this facility, the Flat Shoals Outpatient Health Center here on Flat Shoals Road in DeKalb County. We've seen staff coming in and out of here all day in anticipation for tomorrow's official opening. Now, they did have that ribbon cutting here this morning, and officials said that they will certainly be glad to finally have this facility open to help all those here in the DeKalb County area who need this care. Residents we talked to who were on hand for the ribbon cutting said they will no longer have to make those lengthy trips for care with this new Flat Shoals Outpatient Center opening, making it easier for those local residents to get the care they need. And DeKalb CEO Lorraine Cochran-Johnson was on hand. She said that there's been a lack of easy access for many communities within the county, and this is one of 3 clinics planned here. And she's really excited because the conversation started, she said, back in 2022. Here we are in 2025. Folks just really thrilled to see this finally come to fruition. One couple we talked to calling it a blessing. Now, Grady officials say the 14,000 square foot outpatient center is part of the healthcare system's ongoing commitment to improve access to high quality health care.
We've worked over the last few years recognizing that having care closer to home is better for the community, for us to be able, particularly to get into DeKalb County with clinics that offer services that folks won't have to travel downtown for. We looked at the market, we looked at where the population's growing, where there was a lack of access to care, and identified this location by filling those gaps.
And staff will be offering what they call wraparound services here. And so that means everything from surgery to pharmacy operations here, where those clients who come here, if they're prescribed medication, they can actually fill that prescription here. They're also going to offer primary care and on-site imaging. So anything from x-rays to mammograms also will be offered at the facility here. So as you can imagine, for those who told me that some have traveled as much as 90 minutes, Tom, to get to a hospital because there just was nothing in this area, the Decatur area of DeKalb County, to provide this type of health care service. They say that this really is a great day. And also in just a few weeks, a second Grady facility will be opening, another outpatient center on Candler Road. And so just a very great way to end the year here for all those residents in this community.
Yeah, Deidre, we're talking, it's a large facility behind you there. It's 14,000 square feet. It's going to have all kinds of bells and whistles inside, imaging, as you said, and primary care, and just a great resource, if you will, for people who happen to live in that area. They don't have access to medicine in other places. Grady Health System is known to welcome all, if you will, and so just the name in and of itself for folks that live there will make it a destination in order to be able to get the care that they need, both there on Flat Shoals and on Candler Road.
That's right, and county officials and Grady Health Partners really stressing that this is a partnership between the hospital system, the health system, and the community here, saying, as you said, Tom, that they pride themselves in partnering with communities that need their services, of giving back, providing any type of services that are needed as much as they can. They've opened several of these facilities here in the metro area in recent years, and said they are certainly glad, after researching and seeing what needs were not being met in this community, that they could do so here as well.
It's so amazing that they're answering the call and getting out into the community in this way, this bold and prolific way. Deidre Dukes with, as you said, a good news story which we could use, especially during the holiday season. Deidre, thanks. We're getting a closer look at the life of the suspect who went on that shooting last week in Washington, D.C., just blocks away from the White House, killing one member of the West Virginia National Guard, severely injuring another. Just to catch you up here, the attack happened and it killed a 20-year-old woman. That's the National Guard's member, and it injured a 24-year-old man. This happened on Wednesday last week. There's the deceased victim and her compatriot there on the right-hand side. He is still in the hospital. Investigators have been looking into the suspect's background. He's a 29-year-old Afghan national who we understand once worked with the CIA. U.S. officials believe may have been radicalized since coming to the United States in 2021. And we're getting new information about this guy, a bit of a deeper dive with a new report from the Associated Press that says that the alleged gunman had been, quote, unraveling for years, unable to hold a job and flipping between long, lightless stretches of isolation and taking sudden weeks-long cross-country drives. So he was a wayward individual, according to this report. He's facing first-degree murder charges for that attack that killed the 20-year-old. Her name is Sarah Beckstrom, and left 24-year-old Andrew Wolf in critical condition. Andrew Wolf still in the hospital this afternoon. That suspect had been vetted by the intelligence community for his work with the CIA before coming to the United States. He was granted asylum this year, which would have warranted another screening process, we understand. Now, the White House spokesperson, Caroline Leavitt, spoke this afternoon, not too long ago, within the past couple of hours, about this very issue.
I would like to address the horrific tragedy that took place in our nation's capital last week. A foreign terrorist that the Biden administration failed to properly vet ambushed two members of the West Virginia National Guard who were honorably serving here to keep the residents and visitors of Washington, D.C. safe. U.S. Air Force Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf was severely wounded in the attack and remains hospitalized while he continues to fight for his life. Tragically, U.S. Army Specialist Sarah Beckstrom died of her wounds. She was just 20 years old. President Trump and the entire White House are praying for Andrew's full recovery at the request of his parents and their personal phone call with the president over the weekend. And we are keeping Sarah's family and friends in our prayers during this unimaginably difficult time. Sarah and Andrew represent the very best of America. Two young patriots who were willing to put on the uniform and risk their lives in defense of their fellow Americans. Both of them truly embody the profound words spoken by Jesus Christ in the gospel. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. Sarah and Andrew are heroes, and we will never forget their sacrifice. That means ensuring the monster responsible for this atrocity is prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law and faces the most severe punishment possible. It also means reckoning with why this atrocity was allowed to happen in the first place, so that it may never occur again. Here are the facts. The terrorist who gunned down American soldiers blocks away from the White House in an ambush was an Afghan national who was flown into our country by Joe Biden's administration in September 2021 in the chaotic wake of their botched withdrawal from Afghanistan, one of the most embarrassing moments in the history of our great country. Joe Biden's historic failure in Afghanistan continues to haunt this country and our men and women in uniform. Not only did this surrender lead to a suicide bombing that killed 13 American heroes in Kabul, but now National Guard troops were shot on U.S. soil by the same kind of enemy.
All right, it's Caroline Levitt speaking from the White House today on the shooting that happened last week, the killing of one National Guard member from West Virginia and critically injuring the man that she was patrolling the streets of Washington, D.C. with. President Trump spoke on this issue. He was on his way back to Washington from Palm Beach, where he spent the Thanksgiving holiday. He invited the family, said he spoke to both families, families of these two National Guard members, and invited them to the White House to meet with him. He obviously said that they're very distraught, especially the family of the fallen National Guard member. Again, they were deployed with the West Virginia National Guard to Washington, D.C. as the president works to clean up crime in cities like that. Let's listen just for a second about what the president had to say while aboard Air Force One on the way back to D.C.
I have spoken to both families. Well, I mean, I can give you an update. They're devastated. Does that make sense to you?
Of course.
They're devastated.
Can you give us an update on Andrew?
Well, as you know, the one is no longer with us, and Andrew is fighting for his life. And his parents are unbelievably great people, highly religious people, and they're praying, and they want everybody to pray for Andrew, and he has a chance to make it. But he is, his mother and father, they were so unbelievable. They were so positive. From West Virginia, great state. I spoke with Sarah's parents, too, and the only thing I can say, they were devastated. I've already suggested it. I said, when you're ready, because that's a tough thing, come to the White House. We're going to honor Sarah. And likewise with Andrew, recover or not, we're going to honor her.
I just have one more.
All right, that was President Trump speaking aboard Air Force One about the murder of one National Guard member and the critical injuring of another last week by a lone gunman in Washington, D.C. That gunman also injured and in the hospital recovering, facing murder charges this afternoon. The president saying that he's invited both families of these National Guard's members to Washington to visit him at the White House. So as that situation continues to unfold and as that visit takes place, of course, you will see it right here streaming on Fox Local. Want to get you up to date on the situation in Ukraine. You know, we've been getting a lot of teasing that that relations and deal making between these two countries who are at war with one another is progressing. And that U.S. diplomacy involved is actually moving the ball forward here. U.S. negotiators to the point where are headed to Moscow now to meet with the Russian President Vladimir Putin. There you see Marco Rubio and Jared Kushner there sitting. The president says that there's a good chance to make a deal here. And while there may have been some progress over the weekend, it's going to be a complicated path forward. So the president hedging a little bit in this whole thing. The weekend offered no break in the fighting for Ukraine, even as peace talks were underway in Florida. Senior Trump administration officials met with their Ukrainian counterparts on Sunday in Florida, over the weekend in Miami. Details from the emerging plan aren't really clear that yet. But Ukraine would clearly have to cede some of its territory. And while there are no apparent breakthroughs, the Secretary of State says that there was progress. So we'll continue to follow the situation there as well. As we continue here, we're going to get a check of your Monday afternoon forecast. It is chilly and cloudy out there today. We're going to check in live with meteorologist Alex Forbes for the very latest. Welcome back, everybody. So happy you're here with us on Fox Local streaming live. I'm Tom Haines in the Fox 5 Atlanta newsroom. We appreciate you watching on our streaming app, Fox Local, whether you're watching on your home TV or your mobile device, or joining us on our YouTube channel at Fox 5 Atlanta, listening to us on the radio as well. We're everywhere at 107.9 HD2 FM. We welcome you as well. Want to check in now on our weather. We started the week off on a chilly, kind of cloudy note. Alex Forbes is at the Publix on Moores Mill Road, Moores Mill Center, we understand, helping out with the Toys for Tots toy drive campaign. Alex, you're going to talk about that in a second, but give us a sense of what the weather is going to do this week if this kind of chilly, cloudy weather is going to continue.
Yeah, Tom, I would expect it to. It is December after all, and this is what we sign ourselves up for this time of year. So cool outside today. We've got some cloud cover out there. That's going to lead to showers, if not just straight up heavy rain later on this evening. Check out your 7-day forecast here. We are going to struggle to get into the mid-50s each afternoon. These overnight low temperatures also on the cooler side as well. 30s and 40s, but notice all of those numbers there, except for Wednesday morning, above freezing. So we're not looking for anything in the way of frozen precipitation here across Metro Atlanta and North Georgia. We'll be clear on Wednesday and Thursday. Looks like rain is back in the picture on Friday, and some of that lingers into Saturday as well. So December expecting to be a wet month here across North and Central Georgia, which means it's a perfect opportunity to head to your local Publix and support the Toys for Tots. So in case you didn't know, let me show you this. Publix, they have idea. There you go. A dinosaur legend set, a little doctor set, maybe a light up flashing headband. It's the Christmas section here, and it's going to be going on, and each local Publix has a Toys for Tots box. Of course, the Marine Corps Foundation supports this organization every year, as do we here at Fox 5. And I want to bring in some members of the United States Marine Corps. We've got Sergeant James Butterworth, Sergeant Vincent Arriaga. Thank you guys for joining us today, streaming here on Fox Local. First, can you tell me a little bit about what Toys for Tots is and what you guys are looking for?
So Toys for Tots is a program where the Marine Corps collects toys for less fortunate families and children. We're really trying to give back to the community, kind of show that underneath the robotic Marine title, we're all humans and Americans that want to give back to our community.
And Sergeant Arriaga, what might be some ideas for somebody to donate toys to Toys for Tots? What are you guys looking for in terms of ages, toys, anything?
So I think the age group that kind of gets forgotten a lot is the teens, like kind of like the 12, 13, 14-year-olds. So I think anything, probably like skateboards, maybe like something, I don't know, it's kind of difficult right now because, you know, everything's technology, but I think something just for like the tweens age would probably be a good thing for people to give that group.
And I want to ask you guys both, is there something maybe from your childhood that you remember getting on Christmas morning that might be an idea to donate to Toys for Tots?
An idea? I would say a bike. A bike was, I had a lot of fun with the bike I got when I was a younger child.
What about you, Sergeant?
If I had the opportunity, probably, I don't know, I got a PSP when I was a kid, but obviously I don't think they make them anymore. Probably like video games or something like that if you have the ability to.
All right, yeah, and that's the key. If you have the availability to, people at home, they could open their phone right now and go to Amazon. We had a nice lady come in and visit Santa earlier. She donated some Hot Wheels as well. That's one of a couple of toys we have in here now. We got a football, a couple Hot Wheels, looks like a SpongeBob car. Now, Santa, I believe the elves, they are hard at work up in the North Pole. What is what are they doing for Toys for Tots, and what are you looking for this year?
Well, we just need to make sure that all the Atlanta area kids have something special on the tree this year, and that's why the toy drive is such a special thing. The Toys for Tots campaign in Atlanta covers 18 counties in the metro Atlanta area. That's a huge footprint. It's actually the largest toy drive in the country. And that's why it's so very important that we have a bunch of secret elves come in and help put a smile on a child's face in the morning.
Now, Tom, you're going to need to hear this because it's rather important. Santa pulled me aside when I walked in earlier, and he said, Alex, I've got something to show you. And I took some convincing, but I convinced Santa to show you as well. And it sounds like you've got some work to do, all right? So on the naughty list, and the one way to help to get off the naughty list is to maybe donate to Toys for Tots, which, of course, you can do any Metro Atlanta Publix through December 14th.
Somehow, some way, somehow, I always wind up making the naughty list. with Santa. Clearly my work over the years hasn't dug me out of this hole, but I'm working on getting there, and hopefully this holiday season. I tell you what, maybe if I step up and donate some toys to Toys for Tots, can you ask Santa, would that help kind of get me on the nice list?
Does donating toys get Tom on the nice list?
Dad, but we got a few things to talk about.
Oh, okay. All right. So that and a couple of things.
Yeah, that's right.
So I gotta meet with
Tom,
Santa.
Maybe you'll see Santa this weekend
to work it all out. Yeah, the toy drive. We're doing the big toy drive with Fox 5 Toys for Tots. Alex, once again, it's such an easy thing to do because I've been out there doing exactly what you're doing with Toys for Tots, and Publix makes it so easy to grab a toy, check out, throw it in the bin next to you. It's really a great, I think, also life lesson if you're bringing a kid into the grocery store to have them sort of go through that exercise. Like that big Publix truck, if I would have gotten that for Christmas when I was a kid, wow. I mean, I would have played with that thing all day long. Yeah. So a child to kind of give of themselves and go through the exercise of giving to somebody less fortunate who might be their very age.
Yeah, exactly. And it's something to where even if you're watching right now on Fox Local, you can easily open your phone, you can open up Amazon, you can open up Target, you can open up Walmart, you can go to any of your apps and order something, and you can also bring those toys to your local stores. It's not something that you necessarily have to buy here at Publix. Like I mentioned earlier, we had the nice lady walk in with Hot Wheels that came from somewhere else that are now happily in the Toys for Tots bucket.
All right, we need to, okay, first of all, that sign that Santa's holding, that needs to come back to the newsroom so that I can hang it at my desk and remind myself that I still got some work to do in order to make the nice list. Tom wants a copy of the naughty list.
Okay, and a list of instructions.
Alex Forbes.
Okay, what Santa and I are going to talk.
Yeah, please do. You're my diplomat out there, so I appreciate it, Alex, at the Moores Mills Public with Toys for Tots. Alex, thanks. As we continue here, we got some great news on the diabetes front that we want to tell you about this afternoon. Some landmark research happening involving mice that's given scientists a way to sort of reverse type 1 diabetes. This is in rodents now, so it's the beginning of this study, but it's laying the groundwork for similar research on humans. Type 1 diabetes requires lifelong management, including insulin injections and blood sugar monitoring and a healthy diet. Research at the Stanford School of Medicine found resetting the immune system in the mice and creating new insulin-making cells reversed the disease in all 19 mice that were used in this study. So some really, really encouraging research coming out of the Stanford School of Medicine. Additionally, the study didn't cause any major side effects or compromise immunity in those rodents. So we'll see what becomes of that study. Well, we just talked about the great effort to donate toys for our Toys for Tots campaign. There's another very heartwarming effort underway to deliver tons of toys to children at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta Scottish Rite. Chris Rosenthal is there with one couple's story whose daughter was once a patient.
Well, in the spirit of the holiday and Giving Tuesday, patients here at Children's Healthcare today are getting these. This is a Slothy. The Slothy's more than just a cute stuffed animal. It's actually a favorite stuffed animal of a patient here, Morgan, who passed away recently. And her parents teamed up with Wild Republic, a toy company, to donate these toys today to patients. And I talked with them today about Morgan's story.
When she was born, the doctors immediately knew something was a little off because her head size was kind of small. And then at 3 months, we came from Blue Ridge to here to Scottish Rite and saw the neurologist here, and they officially diagnosed her with having microcephaly, which is where your brain is fully developed, but it's kind of small in size. Then at 5 months old, she started having seizures and started getting treated here as well. As she aged, about 10 years ago or so, she started having more frequent seizures and was having several a day. that weren't being able to be controlled with medications, and that kind of progressed to her having to have a feeding tube put in to be fed by that, and which then led to kind of a decline in her overall physical activity. In June, she had so many seizures that she ended up succumbing to everything that kind of happened, and the doctor said that we had to look at hospice. And so when we did that, we decided to reach out to Wild Republic to see if they could make a smaller version.
Yeah. And talk to me about these guys. Talk to me about her love of sloths. How did that come to be?
We do that.
Well, she always had a very tactile sense to her. She always wanted to be holding something. And so as she was holding things, she would whip them around. And I think for her, when we started, when we finally found these slothies, we decided that we would see that she would hang on to these. And because of the long arms and the legs and everything, and the pink was perfect for her. Everyone who would see Morgan, they would know her, that she's always got her sloth with her. So that represented her after a long time. So,
talk to me about reaching out to, to Wild Republic and getting a sloth made for her.
So in her final week, we decided that, well, if she was going to pass, she would miss out on some things that we would do as a family. And we decided we wanted a small version of the sloth that we could put her ashes in and just take with us. So we reached out to Wild Republic, and a customer service rep named Arvind answered us, and he loved the story. He just was behind it completely. And he said, I was so emotional about it. He said, I'm going to have to send this up the ladder right now to our leadership team. So that's what he did. And they wrote us back and they said, we would love to be behind this. So this is exactly what we were looking for, is small version. And we were going to open it up and sew her ashes in, but they actually designed it. Their design team put a zipper on it, and there's a little pouch in there that you can get into and put her ashes in. And then on top of that, it has her name on the side right there.
And so you can carry her with you.
We can take her on some adventures, yeah.
They were amazing. It was amazing how quickly they responded to it and how fast. This sloth came to us in the mail within 2 months, so it was amazing.
Today, we are donating them to the children at the hospital. We're donating over 1,000, and every year, in Morgan's memory, in honor, we will be donating to the children at the Hospital of Atlanta.
It's where her story started at 3 months old, and I thought that it would be fitting for us to bring that back here. You know, the nurses and everybody at Children's, because we've been to multiple of their hospitals, but also in particular here at Scottish Rite, have always treated her so amazingly. And I feel so grateful to that. So to think of her name carrying on and having this legacy continue annually, I wouldn't want it to be anywhere else but with children.
Again, about 1,000 of these will go to patients here at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. These slothies, and no doubt putting a smile on their faces this holiday season.
Yeah.
Back to you.
Yeah, indeed they will. Chris Rosenthal. Chris, thanks so much for that. And of course, what a heartwarming gesture on the part of those two parents who want to give back to the hospital that helped their daughter so much fight through an illness that ultimately took her life. We appreciate it, Chris. As we continue here, chances are you might be doing a little Cyber Monday shopping. Well, if you are, there are scammers everywhere out there, and they want to take advantage of you. We have a live guest coming up to tell you how not to be a victim as we continue. Welcome back. If you're like me, you've been absolutely bombarded in your email box and text messages with, not only Black Friday sales, but Cyber Monday events. They're just dragging these sales out as long as they possibly can. Some people say they've lost their luster, right? That they aren't what they used to be. Business experts predicting record spending, though, for Cyber Monday today, despite consumer uncertainty with the economy. Adobe Analytics predicting U.S. shoppers will spend $14.2 billion today alone. That's an increase of 6.3% from last year. Adobe forecasting that buy now, pay later loans will surpass a $1 billion milestone on Cyber Monday. The National Retail Federation also estimating U.S. shoppers will spend more than $1 trillion for the first time this year between the November and December holiday season. So people are in a good mood and they want to spend money. That's good. That's good news for the economy as we try to struggle out of everything that we've been dealing with inflation and a lot of headwinds in the form of interest rates and what have you. Joining us now is John Powell. He is partner and cybersecurity expert with the advisory firm Moore Coulson right here in Atlanta. John, thanks for being with us this afternoon. You know, as we talk about the joy of the holiday season and the fun that it is to go shop and buy things for other people and perhaps even yourselves. There is risk involved in transacting online. I talked about the fact that we get a lot of emails in our email box. We get a lot of things on our phones promoting sales. And those two portals in and of themselves can be risky.
Very true. I was just echoing that with a teammate here. It's just the volume that you get bombarded with. What you mentioned, the notifications, is it a text message or is it an email? I was looking back through, and I think I estimated I maybe got about 300 or 400 over the last week just for Black Friday and Cyber Monday alone.
Wow. So besides getting bombarded and flooded and going through and like deleting all of them because they're cluttering up your inbox and your phone, what are some of the risks associated with, say, opening an email that may be from a nefarious sender, clicking on a link, and then getting hacked?
Yeah, that is 100% real risk. And what I like to say is those are great. I use those emails and those notifications as what I want them to be, as an information source. So, oh, great. My favorite outdoor vendor is having a sale. And my number one rule of thumb, don't click the link. Just go straight to the website. The deal will still be the same that you would get if you would click the link, even if it's a legitimate link. Unfortunately, given how often that we get emails throughout the year, and obviously it spikes during big sales seasons like we're having right now, it just pays to just be on guard and to just kind of ignore that, recognize, ooh, I would like to buy that, but I'm just going to go straight to, vendora.com or vendorb.com. That's the safest way to do it and to prevent yourself from, clicking on something that you shouldn't.
John, there's so many vulnerabilities out there where people can become victims of scams. Tell us how clicking on something that you don't know the origins of, or going down a rabbit hole and discovering that you've been hacked can really affect us in such perverse ways. In other words, our data being stolen from our devices or our laptops or our computers.
I think, if we think about what's the point, why would I send this link out? What am I trying to get as a criminal or as a bad guy? Money. I mean, and can I monetize either you clicking on that link? Maybe it looks like a legitimate website, and I give you my credit card number and place that order. Now I've got your credit card number and your billing address, and then I can go out and leverage that to buy many, many, many more things. Or if I get you to click on the link and maybe give me personal information, date of birth, social security number, things like that, I can then monetize that into buying my own credit card in your name, or going out and getting a loan. So ultimately, I'm trying to, pull cash out of that. And clicking those links, they can install malware as well that will then just monitor what you're doing. And think about the loss of privacy there in private conversations that you might be having via text or, via your Teams messages or via your email and things like that.
And that's so important, what you just mentioned about providing information to people like your date of birth, your social security number, any kind of account information. I have an elderly father, and some way, somehow, this person managed to text my father saying that he was me. How he knew that, you know, he had a son and he was vulnerable, he was elderly, but basically the text said, Dad, you know, I need $5,000 to pay this debt. And my father, I mean, God bless him, believed this scammer and wanted, of course, he thought it was me. He wanted to do anything he could to help. So I guess the key takeaway from that is whether it's getting a text message from somebody pretending to be a family member or a loved one, or getting a call saying, hey, we're calling from this bank and you have a checking account here, just do not give out any kind of information.
Yes, sir. And I echo that as well. I tell my mom the same thing is, it's not real. Just assume that it's fraudulent. And I had this this instance actually happened to my wife and I. We were getting ready to go to dinner one night, and she gets a call saying, "Hey, we noticed that that we've seen a couple of charges on your credit card." And they started naming off a couple of places that she hadn't been. And then 30, 45 seconds in, I look over and I say, "Hang up the phone and actually call Amex back or call Visa back and tell them and ask them if you've been defrauded." So they got a good 45 seconds to a minute of just normal conversation about, hey, is this charge real? Is this charge real? Do you have the card in your possession? Things like that. So it's very real. And we always have to be on guard. I think, you know, if we think about artificial intelligence and the ability to, you know, deep fake, you know, to take a snippet of my voice and then turn that into a phone call saying, "Hey, Mom, hey, Dad, I need some money," and make it feel believable. So in those instances, you just have to be careful, maybe have a code word with your family that if something really is dire and you really are in need, that's the word, the phrase that you would use to indicate that, no, this is really me.
Where does it end, John, or does it? In other words, living in this day and age that we do, are scams gonna happen to us in perpetuity, and we just need to be better defenders of ourselves and our private information?
I think it's going to happen in perpetuity. Criminals will continue to find new ways to come after us. You know, the things that we can do to protect ourselves, and you know, is freeze your credit. Make sure that that's frozen. Make sure you've got, you know, alerts set for your credit card transactions. Even on your bank accounts, you can get daily balance alerts. You can get, hey, this was an international transaction. You can just do little things like that to at least notify you that something's happening. But again, all those notifications could get lost, be inundated by it, and which you again, I can always pick up the phone and call, you know, Bank A or Bank B or the credit card company directly with the number on the back of the card, just to be sure that that's a legitimate request. If there is something fraudulent going on, or maybe I see a transaction that I still want to ask a question about, that's the best way to go.
Yeah, you're with Moore Colson, which I mentioned at the top here, partner with that firm. You jump in and help businesses and individuals to kind of dig out of these situations. Tell us more about what you do and how somebody can access your services.
Sure, that's a great question. Go straight to the Moore Colson website, www.moorecolson.com, and there's an info button there, and you can certainly request services. But you know, what we typically want to do is help put controls in place for businesses. Is just to advise them on, hey, these are the risks out there. These are the most common risks out there, and you know, just remind everybody that we as humans are the weakest link, and that we just have to do a lot of training, a lot of retraining. If you think about the ability to move money and who has that ability, and should it require 2 or 3 approvers, we just work with people to help design good procedures in place to help prevent that money from going out. And then when it does, we can talk about that and the best ways to go about that, be that, you know, contacting the FTC or the FBI or your local police department, just depending on where the crime occurred and the dollar amount in question.
All right, John Powell, such great information. We're targets on so many levels, not only as consumers, but just on our social media platforms. It just comes in from every single direction. So
it does.
The more information we can get to better protect ourselves, the better. John Powell, partner, cybersecurity expert with the advisory firm Moore Coulson. John, thanks.
Thank you.
All right, there's a great initiative underway by the United States Postal Service that we want to tell you about. It's called Operation Santa. You know how kids write letters to the North Pole to, ask for gifts from Santa Claus. That is, if you're on the nice list, right? Like most children are. Now, the post office wants you to sort of adopt some of these letters from kids and families in need. Those who are interested can adopt a letter on their own or as a team on USPSOperationSanta.com and shop for gifts that come from these letters. The gifts can be ordered and sent directly through Santa's Gift Shop, which is run by the Postal Service and Toys R Us. Volunteers are advised to ship the gifts by December the 13th. As we continue here, you watched it. The Georgia Tech football game didn't end too well for Tech. Well, now Georgia is up against a more ferocious rival in Alabama. We're going to preview that game coming up next. Welcome back, everybody. Thanks so much for streaming with us on this Monday post-holiday afternoon as we begin yet another work week here on Fox Local. I'm Tom Haines with you live in the Fox 5 Atlanta newsroom for the 3 p.m. streaming hour. We appreciate you streaming with us on our Fox Local app, whether you're on your mobile device or you're watching on your home TV. We're so glad you're here. Or if you're on our YouTube channel at Fox 5 Atlanta, welcome to you as well. Or listening to us on the radio, 107.9 HD2 FM. You know, we're in the heat of the college football season with the big Georgia Tech game happening last Friday. Georgia Tech going down in defeat. But Kirby Smart said they didn't play actually their best football that day. Now Georgia's going up against Alabama this weekend on Saturday. Alabama, as you know, previously beat Georgia 24-21 during the regular season. Crimson Tide advancing, winning the Iron Bowl Saturday. And Georgia advanced after Texas defeated Texas A&M. As you take a live look at Mercedes-Benz Stadium this afternoon under an overcast sky, Coach Smart previewed Saturday's game.
to being successful in our conference. And they've got a good group of players, and their staff's done a great job to put them in this position. So this will be our guys' opportunity to go out and play in a place that we've played a lot of games in, and I'm excited for the opportunity. It's always a great atmosphere and crowd, and then the viewership, the people that watch it across the country is always really high. So I'm excited for our guys.
Yeah, Coach, I'm sure you've had an opportunity to go a full deep dive on this offense from Alabama. How have they developed and changed since you guys played them last?
Yeah, I wouldn't call it a deep dive. I got to watch the games in between our game and theirs. I don't think you change a whole lot during the year. You play to the skill set of your playmakers. They've got playmakers. They play to the skill set of those guys. Ty's still playing really well. He's extremely athletic. He can extend plays. He knows where to go with the ball. He knows defenses. He's played a lot of football, and he's played with a lot of confidence. So I don't think there's a lot of change. I mean, they're really good at what they do, and they do a great job with shift motion, keeping you off balance with tempo, vertical plays, horizontal plays. They do a great job.
Coach, you were talking about the progression of Gunner yesterday in terms of how the team has changed, in terms of the identity. Is the offense right now pretty much what you thought it would be? In the spring, you said you'd have to run the ball, or have you guys been able to do some different things or evolve a little bit?
I'm not sure your question. Is our offense what I think it would be? I'm very pleased with what our offense has done this year. I'm very pleased with the total package of how they've utilized the skill set and the strengths of the team. Considering 2 to 3 freshman linemen have been in there a lot, I've been really pleased with that group. The ability and the commitment to the run complements what Gunner does well, and I'm pleased with where those guys have been.
You talked last night about how valuable experience was for the guys on defense. How much do you feel like that applies to your defensive line and just the growth you've seen? How valuable the experience has been?
Hang on.
I would say it's more the experience has been bigger for young linebackers, outside linebackers, and secondary, maybe the defensive line. I mean, outside of EG, a lot of those guys have played football. And EJ.
All right, Coach Kirby Smart talking about this weekend's game against Alabama on Saturday, talking about his offense and defensive lines there. Obviously looking forward to this matchup, which has taken place so many times before. Alabama taking the last game in a narrow victory over Georgia, so we'll see what Saturday brings. That is going to do it for us for the 3 p.m. streaming hour here on Fox Local. I'm Tom Haynes, live in the Fox 5 Atlanta newsroom. Don't go anywhere. The news is going to continue right here, right now.
Fox 5 News at 4 starts right now.
After a week of back and forth, the Gainesville High School football team is expected to play its playoff games against Langston Hughes this Friday. Coming up, the question that still remains following a massive brawl. A Rockdale County inmate is on the run after escaping Grady Memorial Hospital. The rush to find the man authorities say is armed and dangerous. But first, hundreds of students headed home from school after a major water main break in DeKalb County. Thank you for joining us for Fox 5 News at 4. I'm Tyler Fingert in for Christine Spiro. All City of Decatur schools dismissed early after the large pipe broke on Midway Road. That is where Fox 5's Angelique Proctor joins us with more on what happened and when things will be back to normal. Angelique, good afternoon.
Well, good afternoon to you, Tyler.